Everybody, welcome to a live video. I am going to try to sharpen some card scrapers. So here we go. Card scraper. Just got my metal vise inside the Moxon vise and made a simple jig to hold a file. So just made a little groove, put the file in there, and this will ensure that I can keep the file somewhat square to the face of the ensure that I can keep it somewhat square to the face of the card scraper. Hey, Daniel. Yes, it is a little late. So, I'm not sure that I'll be on for too terribly long, but yeah, sharpening card scrapers. Trying to anyway. This is my first set of card scrapers. One down. On to the next. Right now I'm just trying to ensure that the surface here is all flat. And I'll move on to the next step for each of these. I'm sharpening both sides. These are all a little bit different size. So I've got, this is the biggest, and this one. This one I think is the same size, but this one is a thinner material. This one's next. And then these two are also same size, but this one is thicker than this one. Hi, cool. Thanks for joining in on the live and joining into the chat. Where are you watching from? Oh, sorry, Dan, I didn't see your question about the Kenwood until just now. It is a Kenwood. Let's see. Not sure what the wattage is. It's heavy. Let's see. Huh. They drop everything here. This is let's see if I can tell from the opposite side. I can't tell from that angle. We'll have to look at it later. Or it's model number KRV8080. So if you want to look that up, KR-V8080. You can let me know what the wattage is on it, because I don't know. Hey, Raja. Thanks for joining in. On to the next. You can feel a little bit of a burr on the sides there. This is the thinnest of all of the card scrapers that I'm working with today. Daniel, what part of the world are you living in? Where are you watching from? All right, I'm going to take this vise out of the Moxon vise now. Store it down below. All right. Got my 1200 grit diamond stone there. Move the file out of the way. Spray some Windex. And I want to smooth out the file marks. And then remove the burr from both sides. Okay. Oh, like my towel dispenser doesn't want to dispense. There you go. Out. We'll move on to the next one here. I didn't flick the stone. Talking about the diamond stone. And Ricardo, see ya. Benjamin, welcome. the more index. Hey, Daniel. See you next time. Did you have a chance to look up the model number of that, of the Kenwood? See what the wattage is on that? I'll give you the model number one more time. It's KRV8080. And I'll try to remember to look it up later if you don't get a chance. All right. Actually, let me clean off the old diamond stone here. All right. Now we're on to the burnishing. And I think I want to bring back the other vise. So I've got this metal vise that I can slide into my Moxon vise here. If I loosen the Moxon vise enough. There we go. little bit of a burr there. See if that's good enough to do anything with. This is not hardwood. Yeah, just getting mostly sawdust there. So I think that needs some better burnishing. It doesn't really look much better to me yet. But I'm still going to move on. Probably good for now. Let's move on to the next. On to the next. onto the last. This one is the same size as the last one, but it's a little bit thinner material. Yeah, a little bit. I think part of my problem, tubes, might be that this isn't exactly some hardwood that I'm working on. And probably a bigger part of my problem is this is the first time I've actually sharpened card scrapers before. So If you have any suggestions on how to do it better, I am all ears. And I'm just going to cut a little bit of cherry wood here, that see if I can scrape that any better than scraping on the workbench. That worked well. Let's see if I can get the Mox and Vise to cooperate here. This is a pretty uneven board, so more a partial limb really than a board. So see if I can get any good pressure. Maybe I shouldn't lift up on it. Yeah, I did watch Paul Seller's video on sharpening card scrapers. His seemed a little bit more involved than what I wanted to do tonight. But if I can't get these working as well as I want, then yeah, that's not going to hold. Let's see. You know, I've got some other stuff here that's milled down a little bit better. Should hold in there better. Yeah, you are right, Kier. I am. There we go. This is some cherry wood too. This is just same stuff from the same tree as that other board, but this one I've already milled up. So see if I can get this to stay any better. Yeah, I'm not claiming to be a great carpenter, that's for sure. Strapping part can be difficult. Make sure you have something very hard still around. Yeah, so I got this burnisher. So hoping that that's hard enough and round enough. That seems to be working okay. Not as well as what Paul Sellers does, but he's got a little bit more experience and skill than I do. So, you know what? I'll take that. I think this one is good for now. Hello from Sydney. Hi, Troy. How you doing? I am in the United States of America, the great state of Idaho. I have never been to Sydney or anywhere in Australia. Where's everybody else watching from? That's not taking anything off. All right. Yeah, it's a little bit more sawdusty than I'm wanting. And this side didn't seem to cut anything at all. Yep, nothing. So, actually, let me, all right, I'm gonna see if I can mark this so that I remember that this side needs more work, for sure. My little green mark on the blue is for this side down here needs to get done better. Hopefully I don't. Looks like that one too. I think this whole card, I think, needs more work. Yep. Okay, I'm done with that one for now. This whole card I need to redo. I could probably use more work too. Let's see. Want to get a nice burr on the end, yeah. Good, Walter. Hello. I think I might have gone for too aggressive of an angle when I was burnishing. I might have gone, too far over, which requires me to, I think, angle the card even more. But yeah, that's heating up quite a bit too. This is a thinner card than the previous ones that I was working on. And that's just dust. Yeah, doesn't really feel much of a burr there. Yeah, I think this whole one needs to get redone as well. So I'm going to redo those ones entirely. That one I think is okay. This one, somewhat okay. Ah, got Corcus from Greece. Do you think that one sounded better? This one that was just doing sawdust? Think that sounds better, even though it's is my angle of attack off? Maybe is that my problem? Yeah, I think it needs more work. maybe a bit shallower. All right, well. That felt pretty good, but it's not really yielding much, and it's heating up really quickly. I think this is actually my thinnest one. Different grades you can achieve. It depends on the material. Shallow more for softwood. Okay, so this is cherry. I don't have my Jenka hardness scale memorized, but my recollection is that cherry is kind of mid-grade hardwood. I could be wrong. I mean, this should be a softwood here. That's picking up some shavings at least. A little bit of shavings there. All right. Base has to be level flat. When you're saying the face, are you talking about this surface or are you talking about here? I would think that the face, you mean here. In the sharpening shallow. Oh wait, is card scraper useful for some hardwood? Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be, if I can do it right. That's the big question. So in the sharpening shallow, I'm not sure what you mean by the sharpening shallow. Sorry. Hey, that worked pretty well. Better than most of my other scraping attempts here. Make sure the hard piece of sharpened steel is smooth when you're burying scraper. The hard piece of sharpened steel. I'm I'm still not sure what you're referring to. So, are you talking about the burnisher? Hard piece of sharpened steel is smooth when you're burying the scraper. Or are you talking about when I'm burying the scraper in the workpiece? That looks good. I mean, about as good as I've had. Definitely feels easier to pull back on it. rather than pushing forward. Maybe that's because it's a more natural angle. Hi, baby kisses. How you doing? Oh, you gotta go, Oops. All right. Well, hey, thanks for helping out. Appreciate it. Hey. Glad to catch me live. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're here too. All right. Oh, I don't think I've tested this guy yet. So this one might be mostly okay, but let me see how this one does. Hey, that looked pretty good. That looks almost like I know what I'm doing. Not quite, but almost. So, baby kisses, are you feeling better on the road to recovery? Sounded like you're home now. Is that right? Yeah, I think that one might be among the best so far. Let me test this guy again. A little bit. Thank you for asking. I'm trying. For a scrapper, a little bit better. At first, I thought you were talking about the scrapers. Like for a scraper, a little bit. I was like, oh, what do you mean a little bit on the scraper? Huh? For a scrapper, meaning you, doing a little bit better. Well, I'd rather a little bit better than a little bit worse, you know? I think that's probably good enough for now. All right, I'm going to do a little bit more burnishing on these two. So I will take the cherry wood out of the Moxon vise. Actually, I'm going to try a different method. No, I'm not. Let's see. Broth and crackers taste great. You know what? Sometimes they really hit the spot. Haven't wanted any coffee. You know what? Me either. Of course, I don't drink coffee, so that's not really unusual that I wouldn't want coffee. All right. So yeah, just have the Moxon vise and then putting the other vise in the Moxon vise. And the homemade Moxon vise, I should say. Just built it into the workbench. All right. All right. Hey, Chardonnay. Good to see you. I have some serious patience. You know what? Sometimes I do. Other times the patience wears very, very thin. But, you know, double tap. Yeah. I really like that idea, Chardonnay. Double tap the screen, hit the like button, whatever works. Appreciate that. Guy that gets high and does woodworking. I wish that was a joke. I'm just on a natural high, I guess. And let's see. A reminder. Use station. Okay. What am I making? I am just sharpening some card scrapers. And yep. Yeah, serotonin high, right? And yeah, these are card scrapers. So these are the ones that I've already mostly successfully sharpened. There's 5 different ones that came in this set. 3 different sizes. And the 2 that are the same size have different thicknesses. And okay. And then and sleep out in the shop. Yep. Is there a machine that does that, sharpens those automatically? Not that I'm aware of. Maybe. But, some of the hand tool only woodworkers out there, they seem to think this is pretty fun. So giving it a try, see how I do with it. All right. And almost 4 a.m. there. Yeah, it's 1:30 something in the morning here, but time is just a number. So my body has never really needed a ton of sleep. Even like most of my life, I couldn't really sleep more than 7 hours in the night, even if I wanted to. Lately, it seems like 4 or 5 hours is pretty much all I can sleep. So might as well do something productive with the time that I'm not asleep, right? And I've got a new video scheduled for release Friday, so I guess today. For those of you in the US, it's already Friday, and I guess most of the world, it's probably already Friday. So I've got a new video scheduled to release. It's called, I don't remember what I named it, but on the thumbnail it says, "Name That Tool." Right now the chat is over. What are you doing? So I really can't see. And then you have your vice up, blade in. We're waiting on my wife does my woodwork voiceover. Yeah. So Chardonnay, I may have mentioned already what that video is. So name that tool is with my wife in the shop, guessing what the tools are and what they do. So I find it pretty fun. Hopefully others do too. And then Baby Kisses, you asked, right now the chat is over. What are you doing? So I really can't see other than you have your vice up, blade in. Yeah, I'm not sure what's wrong on your end, Baby Kisses, but yeah, Chardonnay has a suggestion. If you're on your phone, you can disable live chat to see it all. Maybe that's what you're trying to accomplish. Oh yeah, duh. Okay. And then Egos, you want to know if I believe in God? Yeah, I do. Do you? All right, so let's see how well those are doing now. Oh, I really secured that vice in, didn't I? Okay, move that out of the way on the lower shelf. Yeah, John 3:16, familiar with that passage. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And then 243, doom scrolling, ended up here. Glad you did. Woodworking is awesome. Yeah, glad you're here. Green is up and down, not sideways. I believe in God since you were a child. Yeah. Yeah, welcome to the stream, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And I was just mentioning I've got a video scheduled for release tomorrow. Got a bunch of other videos on my channel, both live feeds and regular videos. A couple of shorts, not much there. Mostly long form videos and lives. So if you're ever looking for something to do, feel free to come and check out my channel. Happy to have you. All right, so let's see how well this card scraper does. So far, not that great. Yeah, just getting dust still. Disappointing. I mean, it feels like that has a burr. There we go. Felt like it should be doing better than it did. This one's just not doing that great for me. Yeah. Feels like just the one. Yeah. It's the only side of the four that's giving me any kind of shavings. Everything else is just dust. All right, so might table him for another day. Let's see if this one's doing any better. A little bit of shavings there. And there. More dust, but got some shavings. I like that. Try the other side. Ah. Yeah, that'll work. Let's see. Yeah, you'll definitely watch. Subbed as well. Great. Thank you. Everyone's welcome to sub, of course. Subscribe, that is. Hit the like button. Wish I had a cool trade skill. You know what? It wasn't that long ago that I didn't really know how to do any of this stuff. So really, I mean, I did a little bit of like building shelves and just some real basic stuff at my last house, you know, going on 10 plus years, but I didn't really start getting into woodworking at all really until like a year or so ago. So, you know, it could be you too, if you want it to be. Let's see. Don't forget to double tap and like the stream and subscribe. Yep, agree with that. See that muscle, your elbow. Most of us girls, it's not developed like a man's. Why your grip is so much stronger. Yeah, I mean, you know, all those muscles. You know, driving all the ladies crazy. You know, this was always my favorite muscle right here when I was you know, younger and actually lifting weights and stuff. Haven't done weight training for long time. Let's see. Always wanted to learn a skill like woodworking, carpentry, etc., but never knew where to even begin. Such an art form. You know, today I would say it's easier than ever to learn an art form, whether woodworking or, you know, beads or knitting or whatever art form tickles your fancy. chainsaw carvers. I follow some chainsaw carvers that are really good. Wood turners, and so there's all sorts of different skills out there, different arts that you can get into. So it's just so much more accessible today than it was, when I was a kid, because you've got YouTube, you've got the internet. So there's just so many different resources to learn how to do different things and how to do them well. And if you're having difficulty with something, Google search, Chat GPT, Copilot, so many ways to get better. Let's see. Jay, thanks for joining us. Baby kisses, you don't want to arm wrestle me? June, good morning to you. Let's see. You crocheted for a while. It's neat. Love building things from the ground up. Yeah. My daughters have gotten into knitting and crocheting a little bit. My 15-year-old and nearly 16-year-old, my youngest, she's been on a bead kick lately. So she's been making all sorts of bead bracelets and stuff. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't realize she cared about beads at all, and now she's like making all sorts of beads. Says she's going to sell them. And great, good for her. She wants to pay for her driver's education training, so I'm all for that. Let's see. I'll never forget how to crochet. Like when you were 6. There's lots of wood here. Got some cherry wood here. Got some pine up there. This might be pine as well. This box is not very pretty, but it's made of cedar. So, as I was saying just a bit ago, I'm new to this, so this was basically my first attempt at box joints. And you can see how poorly the box joints fit. But you take that opportunity and you learn from it. And so after that, I made a different box joint jig, and these fit quite a bit better. All right, still not perfect, but don't expect perfection the first time you're doing any particular craft. Yeah, you like cedar, baby kisses? I actually got this cedar from the fire pit. Got a bunch more of it over here. This was when we moved into this house, it had there's a fire pit out by the side, and this was one of the logs that was in the fire, the stack of wood near the fire pit. So I pulled it out. I didn't even realize it was cedar when I pulled it out. I just thought, hey, you know what, that might be something that I can work with, and it's going to be dry because it's been there for years probably. And so I milled it up and got a bunch more of it over here that I've just kind of been holding on to. So I made this a while ago. But these are not cedar. Yeah, so this all just came from a log of firewood and just milled it up. And there's the grain pattern on this. And that one's a little bit thicker than the last. Smells good. And then this board did have some imperfections in it. So crack that went through a big chunk of the wood, including right there and along there. And then these are just some of the offcuts from what I made before. And then pretty good sized knot in here that cracked out. So a little bit difficult to use that piece. And then, still a pretty usable board here. And you can see this is the outside of the board. So just a little bit of it. And then here's some of the cracking that was going on, more of the cracking. But overall, slight crack in through there and here connecting to that. But still pretty usable wood, as long as this knot doesn't cause big problems. And I might try filling this with some epoxy before I mill this up, just to try and strengthen that so that it doesn't break apart. We'll see. Yeah. So all of this just came from a single chunk of firewood, including that box and a few others that I made. So let me go back. Like I might have missed some things here in the chat. Poultices into beads, cool. The video game content and walkthroughs, guides. None of my kiddos are really into that, but they're also still young. Yeah, I was never really into video games too much. When I was really young. We didn't have any gaming systems. The Atari was popular when I was quite young. My uncle had one, so whenever we went over there, we were like, "Oh, can we play Atari?" And we're just really disappointed when the answer was no. But and I remember, in my adolescence, Nintendo was pretty popular. The original Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, and really wanted one. And my parents didn't get one for us. Remember one time my dad was he was adding a screen door to our front yard. He was kind of enclosing the front porch to improve the climate control in the house. And so he was talking about how he wanted us to be careful around that screen door because it was expensive, right? He's like, "Oh, I paid $100 for that screen door. Be careful." And I turned to him and I was like, Dad, why did you waste $100 on this? You could have gotten a Nintendo. And he did not seem to realize how much more important the Nintendo was than storm door, screen door. But my youngest brother is really into video games. He and some of his friends actually opened up a video game buy, sell, trade store in town. So you make necklaces and stuff with your oldest. The others are more into just playing pretend and stuff for now. Cool. How old are your kiddos? You said they're young, but and glad you got boxes. Yeah. Cedar doesn't rot. Yeah. Cool. Only thing I've ever been good at. Just made my career out of it. Yeah. Hey, you know what? There are worse things in life than making a career out of what you're good at. Enough to release it. I'm not sure what you mean by that, baby kisses. Smart enough to release it. Realize it. Oh, realize it. Okay. That's neither nor my kids. Yeah. My dad had an Atari. Yeah. He raised me on games pretty much my entire life. I started with Nintendo 64 and GameCube, and my fave became PC gaming. Yeah, 5. Oh, wow. Okay. 10, 7, 6, 4, and 1. Awesome. Yeah, my oldest is 20, and then I've got a 17-year-old and a 15, almost 16-year-old. So I just have the three. My parents had 9 kids. They had 5 daughters and then 4 sons. So I am the 7th child overall and the 2nd son. So because your husband has an Atari and a box of games in the basement, the kids never went down there. So is it the kids never went down there and so the Atari and games are safe, or the kids never went down there because they weren't interested in the Atari and games? That's the question I have for you. So started a bit earlier than intended. Husband and I make it work. I was an only child and wanted a big family. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, we started a little bit later, and then we actually ended up adopting our first 2 kids, and then our 3rd child surprised us, but it was a pretty difficult pregnancy for my wife, and so that was our last. And oh wow, baby, because you have 9 kids too. What's the mix of boys and girls? Is it 5 girls to 4 boys like ours was? Kind of funny. My wife, her parents had 5 daughters and then 1 son and stopped. So they gave up a little early. And Chardonnay, you've got a brother that's 12 years younger than you are. Yeah, I think it's at least 18, maybe 19-year spread in our family between the oldest and the youngest. So I won't mention how old my oldest sister is, but I don't think she'd like that even if she's not watching. Yeah, 9 kids is awesome. You're done now. Yeah, last pregnancy was terrible. Yeah, that's understandable. You know, thinking back, one of my videos leading up to Mother's Day, I was making a bandsaw box and talked a little bit about my mom and the 9 kids and all of that good stuff. So if you're feeling bored or need something to help you get to sleep, you could watch that bandsaw box Mother's Day gift video and hear what I had to say about my mom. Let's see, baby kisses, you gave birth to 5 years apart, except the last 2. Okay. Are the other kids stepkids or adopted, or how did you get to the 9? I'm just closing up the Moxon device here. $45 down. Not sure what that means. My stepkids on his stepson. Okay. Oh, your kids' ages. Okay. Okay, so your oldest is 45. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, there are lots of nice pieces of wood. You were just saying we've got cedar, we've got cherry wood, we've got some plywood down here that makes up the workbench. Not sure what kind that is. some construction lumber 2x4 right here that probably a Douglas fir or pine or something. Not sure exactly. What else we got? This I'm pretty sure is pine that I made the box joints out of. This might have been pine. I think this was pine too. This was my Easter tomb project that I did for Sunday school. The morning of Palm Sunday. I was like, oh, what kind of visual aid can I do? Because my wife and I teach the 9 and 10-year-old kids in our congregation at Sunday school, and so just kind of thought about this idea as I was in the shower that morning. So after I finished getting dressed, I came down to the shop and hurried and made this, and made several mistakes along the way because I was a bit rushed, or because I'm just mistake prone. But I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't even plan this, but the knot in the door kind of has a cross in it. So I thought, you know what, that's kind of a cool feature. Let me give you a bit closer view of that. So I can't tell if you guys can see it very well. But I think this was pine as well. I think I just used I think this was from a board that I got from my brother. So much of what I use is reclaimed, repurposed. Get it off of Facebook Marketplace for free, get it from family members that don't need it anymore. Got a bunch of redwood 2x6 boards up there, which is actually what I can't really see. Let me give you a different angle here. So the vertical supports and the horizontal supports of the Workbench are made from those redwood boards. And I got those off of Facebook Marketplace from just somebody who's getting rid of their deck and said, come and get it for free. And so I borrowed my son's truck and went over there and picked them up, brought them home, cleaned them up, got the nails and screws out of them, and washed them down because they had a bunch of spider webs and stuff all over them, and used them to build with. So a lot of what I've got is I didn't pay for with money, just with time and effort. And definitely looks really good. A lot better than what I can do with wood. Yeah, it's a lot better than what I could do with wood even just a couple of years ago. So it's like I was telling Venix 243 earlier that you don't just have the skill to start with, right? It's you build, right? And every project that I've done, I can look around and say, I was doing a live recently and somebody asked, what project am I most proud of? And that kind of took me off guard a little bit, because I was like, every project, I tend to see the flaws before the pride, because I'm like, oh, you know what? I screwed up on this on that project, or I screwed up on that. But every time you screw up, you're also learning, right? And so each iteration, you get a little bit better. And so this is not my first Workbench, but it's a lot better than my first Workbench, right? So I've got a miter saw station over here that I'll roll into view. So this is one of the first things that I built. And it works just fine, right? So it supports the miter saw just fine. And in many ways, there's nothing wrong with it. But since I've been using it, I realized, oh, you know what? There are a lot of things wrong with it. So one of the main things that's wrong with it is that I don't have any support for any boards when they're on the miter saw here, right? And so on the opposite side there, I actually added a board after the fact right here that is level with my with the deck surface here. And another thing is you can see that these vertical supports, these 2x4s, they are just screwed into the shelves, right? And that's fine because this isn't really that heavy, right? And this isn't really having to support that much weight, but it'd be much better if this shelf were on top of the 2x4 instead of just being screwed into it, because it can be screwed into it as well as being on top. And that's what I did over here. Right? So I've got the 2x6 supporting the top of the bench here, not just being screwed into the side of it, right? And you can see I've notched out so that the 2x3 that's going along there for this top support, I've notched it out so the 2x3 is resting on the 2x6 instead of just being screwed in. This 2x3 also resting on. Now, as I was just talking about, I see the flaws a lot more than I see, the proud stuff, right? And so when I look at this, I'm like, oh, you know what? I cut into this too much because I was doing it with a circular saw. And so in order to cut out enough for the back side, I had to cut into this side here, right? And same kind of deal over here. When I cut into this 2x3 right here, my cut goes higher than it should have. And so I've learned, oh, you know what? I should cut that with either a jigsaw or with my bandsaw, something that'll give me a straight cut instead of curved. And so I'm becoming a better woodworker because of all of these mistakes. Let's see. And Baby Kisses, you got 2x4s for $2. They were reclaimed. Wish you had a saw like that. Are you talking about the rigid miter saw? You talking about this? It is a nice one. It's one of the very few things in this shop that I bought new, but it was on a pretty severe discount. So before I bought it, I talked to my brother-in-law, who's has a lot more experience in woodworking and such than I do. And I said, hey, I saw this deal at Home Depot. What do you think about it? And he said, it's like, yeah, it's a really good price. So it's a 10-inch blade, and works pretty well. I really like one of the features that I really like about this one is that it has these these arms here that go back and forth. Most of the sliding miter saws have kind of these pole type deal that just go straight back. And so because they go straight back, you have to have a lot of space behind your miter saw. If you're just putting it up against a wall, you have to have the miter saw pretty far away from the wall because those that mechanism goes back quite a bit. Whereas this, it goes back this far. I never have to go any further than right here. This part can go right up against the wall. So I don't have to worry about having it further back. So that's one of the reasons why I really liked this design and why I was willing to buy this one new instead of just getting something used, which is what I usually do. Most of the stuff I have around here is very used. So, the redwood 2x6s were used. This plywood that I have on the workbench, all of the plywood on the workbench in the shop. And so this workbench, this plywood was actually set up in this corner over here. And the plywood was just setting on top of 2x4s. And so the only support was where those 2x4s were. So if you had anything heavy on the center of the plywood, it could break, right? So there's no way I wanted to like get on top of it or anything, because that would be pretty dangerous. Let's see, your clamp, your workbench, you can make a pull-out adjustable arm to set your boards on. Yeah, are you talking about on the miter saw station on this over here? I could, and I'm actually thinking to rebuild this entirely. I've got more width here than what I need, or more length, I guess. More length than I need, or no, should be width, depth, height. Yeah. So, so I've got more width than I need on both sides, right? And so I'd like to shrink it down so that it's matching, so that it's matching the profile of the saw, but then add some folding, outboard, some folding out feed support or in feed support or whatever on both sides, so that it can support whatever it needs to. I also want this to be basically the same height as my workbench, so that if I need to, I can just use the workbench as my support. Anyway, yeah, that's what you're talking about is that. So that's been a project that I've been considering for a while, is revamping this, but there's so many different projects to do that it's kind of taking a back burner. I'd also kind of like to incorporate some dust collection in the miter saw station, kind of like I have on the table saw setup. So I made a mobile cart for the table saw. All right, so here's the table saw setup. I'll give you a little bit better view of that. All right. So I bought this guy from a local cabinet shop, and they were upgrading, and so they were just getting rid of all of their old DeWalt table saws. And so I said, all right, what's the least expensive one that you've got? And they said this one, because it had a stand, but the stand had like the wheel or something was broken on it. So I was like, no big deal, because I didn't really want to keep the stand anyway. I was just going to sell that off separately. And so actually I think my first video on this channel was about what I did to kind of refurbish this guy, because when I first got it, the height adjustment didn't work right. The bevel adjustment didn't work right. And the stand was broken. And let's see, there was a gouge in the fence. But also the back rail was missing some lining. And there might have been some other issues too. But I just went through and fixed those things. And I got it for really cheap because it was used. And I talked them down. I didn't talk them down enough, because after identifying the various problems that it had, I think they were asking like, $300 for it or something. And But after kind of going through and seeing, okay, this problem, that problem, this problem, I didn't even notice the fence gouge when I was there. But going through those different problems with him, I was like, okay, well, how much are you willing to go down on this? And he said, make me an offer. And I said, $100. And he said, done. And I thought to myself, dang it, I should have gone lower. And so that's and so then I just took the stand off, and I didn't really want the stand anyway because it's a mobile stand, but in order for it to be mobile, you have to fold it all up and then you can transport it, right? So it's really good for someone who is working on a job site. And so they're going to be at that job site for the day or the week or whatever. And so they go and set it up there and take it down to the end of the day or the end of the week. Whereas for me, I wanted to be able to move it around the shop whenever I want without having to fold it all up every time I want to do anything. Another of the big features that I really like about this cart is that it's got integrated dust collection. So on the dust port right here, I've got a hose coming down to a cyclone separator. And then the cyclone separator is hooked up to a little mini shop vac. The cyclone separator makes it so that very little sawdust actually makes it to the vacuum. And so it doesn't clog up the filter very quickly. And so this works out really well so that, I don't have to change out the filters, and it still collects the dust pretty well. So I've got quite a few videos on things that I've done with this, including, how to fix the dip bevel adjustment, how to do zero clearance throat plates, and actually also how not to do them, because I did something really stupid, really dangerous when I made these. So if you want a good tip on what not to do when you're making a zero clearance throat plate, there's a good video about that. So anyway, like this one has integrated dust collection, I want to do something similar for my miter saw station if and when I ever get around to building the new miter saw station. So that's another of my pieces of equipment that I got very used. All right, so used that the cabinet shop was like, we're done with this, right? Okay. And come on, let's make it. Yeah, I should just do it, right? I was actually thinking about that earlier today. I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about this for so long. Why don't I just do it? One of the problems in just doing it for me is that I have a wife and 2 teenage daughters that also live here. And it's 2-something a.m. And for some reason, they don't like to hear saws or vacuums or sanders or really any machinery in my shop at night. And so they are, especially my wife, is quite sensitive to sound. Yeah, like, oh, I should just build that. But I was like, you know what? Sharpening the card scrapers is going to be a lot quieter for them. So that's something I could accomplish tonight without upsetting my wife or daughters. Upsetting the daughters, they'll get over it, right? Upsetting the missus, that's a danger. So it would help keep your area clean, yeah. Take care of their nap then, yeah. No, we try to make sure they get well rested, but when they are trying to rest, for some reason they don't really care for the shop equipment to be on. But I have a day job, and so I can't just be here all day working in the shop while they're awake. And so I've got limited time to be productive with the machinery. And so seems like there's always a project to get done during that time, and the miter saw station has kind of fallen by the wayside, in part because this miter saw station is functional, right? And so, to build something else, like, okay, yeah, I'd like to do it, but this is still working just fine. It's not as good as what I would replace it with, but it's still functioning well enough. So, let's see. Oh, and then going on our tour of machinery that I've bought for cheap. Here's the next item. See if you can guess how old this is. This is a bandsaw, Sears Craftsman bandsaw. Sears made a whole bunch of these. This fence is one that I made. So I didn't really have any rails or anything to attach this to, and so I just made it so that it'll fit right around the table. And I've got those holes in there because this wasn't the first use for this plywood. The first thing I did with this plywood was actually make a circle cutting jig for the bandsaw. And so I had these holes cut in there every inch. So this was 13, 14, 15, 16. So those were the radius of the circle. I was able to repurpose that plywood because I made a new jig. As I drop stuff down here. So here's the new jig. It's very similar in design to the old jig. You can see I've got the holes every inch labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. One of the big advantages of this is that it's melamine, right? So this was just a plywood, and so with the melamine, things slide a lot easier. So as I'm trying to cut a circle, I'm not having as much friction, and so it's just a much easier cut to make. And then let me just show you how I employed it a little bit. Just turn this guy. And so got a little runner down here that goes into the miter slot. And then this fits the blade right there. And then I just run that to there. And that's basically the very front of the blade. And I've got this piece of wood right there to prevent it from going any further. So I can lock that in. And so usually I'll just use a clamp. Not necessarily this one, but it was there. And I can just clamp that down, right? And then I can take one of these guys and use this one for smaller circles and this one for bigger circles. So you can see this one has some remnants of double stick tape. And so I'll just take the piece that I want to cut into a circle, tape it onto this. And this has a little peg on the underside. So then I'll just fit that peg into whichever hole I want to use. Right, so this would be 6. Right, so that gives me a 6-inch radius and 12-inch wide circle, 12-inch diameter. You kind of see what it would look like. And so then as I'm cutting it, I would just rotate this, and the wood on top goes through the blade and cuts into a circle. Right? If this is too big, right, so obviously this would only work for that size or smaller, or that size or bigger, I mean. All right. Then I've got this guy, and I don't have him small enough to do 1-inch radius, but I might at some point if I ever need that. And the other thing about these guys is, this one has the peg there as well. The other thing about these guys is that they are made of HDF, or high density fiberboard, and it's actually 2 pieces of HDF, and I've glued them together. There's one side that's like melamine, right, and then the other side is more, it's not as smooth. So I've glued this non-smooth sides together, and then I've got that smooth side that can slide pretty easily. So works pretty well. So since I revamped my circle cutting jig for the bandsaw, I no longer needed the old circle cutting jig made out of plywood. And so I repurposed the old circle cutting jig into the new fence for the bandsaw. So now I can use that for resawing, and wherever I need it to be, right, I can, this isn't usually the ruler that I use, but it can work for the moment. Just measure where it needs to be, and then I can clamp down the fence on both sides of the table, and then that keeps my fence in place as I'm running things through the bandsaw. So that fence has served me well, even with the little holes in it. Let's see, did anyone guess how old the bandsaw is? I don't see any guesses. Baby Kisses loves recycling stuff. Drives your husband nuts. Yeah, I can understand that. No idea how old it is. So each of these Craftsman bandsaws has a date code on them back here. So 6 years. It's a little bit older than that. So the date code is 8293. And what that means is that this was manufactured on the 293rd day of 1978. So it's kind of old. However, even with that, it is not as old as the oldest piece of equipment I have in my shop. The oldest piece of equipment I have in my shop has been here for probably the least amount of time. And it is a lathe. And let me show you the lathe. If you have any guesses as to how old it is, go ahead and throw that in the chat. I actually removed the cover for the switch. Here's the motor, 1/2 horsepower. And I don't know if you can see very well, but got a name there, Lewis, stamped on the side of the plywood stand. And as I was cleaning this off, also on the motor. So I haven't used this yet. The only reason I really got it was because my 17-year-old daughter was pretty interested in it and getting a lathe and making some bowls and stuff. But let me adjust that a little bit if I can. Not working. Need to loosen that up more, but I'm not gonna worry about it. I can, here's the tailstock, headstock. So yeah, there was somebody on Facebook Marketplace that listed it for sale. And so I saw it and it was a really low price. And I thought, you know what, do that. Yeah, Giglio when no Macon. Good guess on the 70s. You get the bandsaw. Maybe when I'm done with it, that could be you know what, maybe I'll leave it to you in my will. Let's see. Lathes drove the Industrial Revolution. Oh, yeah, I was unaware of that. And Baby Kisses 1938 or 1935, and Giglio when Macon. I don't know if I'm saying that right at all, but yeah, this was. I don't know the exact year of manufacture, but I did find a kind of an owner's manual, but not really. It was more a seemed like it was more of a parts list. So it was made, and it had some inflation information on it. So I think it had the model number and then, you know, whatever, right? So I think because it included the service parts list with inflated number, you know, inflation adjusted numbers, I'm guessing that this manual came out after the lathe did, but the date on the manual was June of 1938. So I'm thinking that's probably the latest time that this could have been manufactured. So I don't know the exact year when, but it's a pretty cool machine. It's it's a variable speed. So you adjust the pulley for the speed. In order to adjust the pulley, I think you have to loosen the motor mount down here, shift it forward so that you can loosen the pulley enough to adjust it to a different speed. You can adjust the tool rest here. I've got it kind of locked into this spot. You can move it back and forth. And then there's the tailstock here that I was already moving around. It didn't have the pieces that go here. I can't remember what they're called, but you know, I bought stuff. So yeah. So anyway, these things can slide in here to the headstock and or the tailstock to support the pieces that are being turned. So anyway, that's the oldest piece of equipment I think I have in here. Even older than I am. No. All right. Love the new and old mix. I'm sure she will. I'm just not sure which she you're referring to. which she are you talking about, Baby Kisses? But anyway, I've got some fun stuff around here, but you know, I've just accumulated it over time and for cheap, right? Because the lathe, like I said, it was listed on Facebook Marketplace for cheap. And I thought, no, I'm not really into lathes. My daughter is. You know, I'll go check it out. I wasn't expecting it to be super old like this, or as heavy it is as it is, and or as dirty as it was, because it was covered in dust and dirt and filth. You know, it's just been sitting in their shop unused for I don't know how long, and so I was hesitant, even at its low price, to buy it because, like, I took our minivan. That's all I had to transport it. I wasn't expecting it to be as big as it was. It would still fit, but I was like, I don't really want all this filth in my minivan. So I actually asked them to use their, they had a blower. So we moved it out into the, you know, outside of their shop and used the blower to, you know, kind of remove as much of the dust as we could before we loaded it up. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, the price that I paid on the lathe, they were asking $20 in the Facebook ad, Facebook listing. And while I was looking it over, mulling over whether or not I really wanted to take it home, they dropped the price to $10, which is what I paid. So I got that 1930s lathe for $10. So there are deals out there to be had. Sometimes you got to be lucky. Sometimes you got to be looking, right? But I wasn't really looking for a lathe, but I did definitely get lucky on that one. The bandsaw, I paid more than that, but not a lot more. In fact, when I got the bandsaw, it didn't have a blade or a little table insert that goes right around the blade. If I were to do it now, I would realize, you know what, I can just make a table insert out of wood. I don't need to buy one. But when I bought that, I didn't really think of that as within my set of capabilities. And so I bought one on Amazon. It wasn't expensive, right? But between the blade and the insert, I paid more for the blade and the insert combined than I did for the bandsaw. So just give you a feel for, like, there are deals out there, right? And you can often find models just like that or very similar because Craftsman made basically that machine for like a 10 or 20 year period. They just churned out hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them. And so I regularly see Craftsman 12-inch bandsaws available on Marketplace in my area for $100 or less, right? So let's see, perfect, meant to be, yeah, definitely. So anyway, so it's just a little bit of an overview of some of the stuff in my shop. And if you want a little bit more in depth, I did a live a while back. Actually, my first live video was a shop tour. Now, I didn't have the lathe back then, and might not have had some of the other stuff here either, but it gives you a bit of a feel for what I've done here. So anyway, so I've gone way beyond what I was thinking to talk about with just these card scrapers, getting these sharpened up. But sometimes it can be fun to just talk. So if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'm going to get this wrapped up. I'm starting to feel a little bit tired. I might actually be able to go to sleep soon. So see if that works out. But check here on the chat if you guys have any other questions before we wrap things up. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today, so that I could mostly sharpen the card scrapers and show off the cherry wood and the cedar wood that I reclaimed from firewood pile and made into crappy box joint boxes. And the reclaimed pine that I made into some less crappy box joint boxes. And the Easter tomb that I rushed to make on Palm Sunday morning. And the table saw and the band saw and miter saw and the lathe. And did I show you any other saws? I think that's it. We'll see. But and the Kenwood. Not sure what the wattage is. We were going to look that up. But anyway, thanks everyone for joining. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and catch you on the next one. Let's see. Thanks, Pilato. Project. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining and for all your participation. And we'll catch you next time. And again, hope you're feeling a lot better and get up to 100% very soon. Have a great night or morning, I guess. Probably better to call it morning at this point. 2:43 a.m. where I'm at, and 3:43 where you are, baby kisses, and who knows what time of day where everyone else is that may be watching. So thanks for joining us. Take care.